Hey guys, in this video we're going to be editing that Four-Plex from start to finish, so let's get into the edits. So first things first, if I can move my screen here, there we go. Folder number 1 is where I put all the raw Sony files, the ARWs, and let me go ahead and remove this folder real quick. And so what we're going to do is open DNG Converter, and we're going to select that folder. So click Select Folder. Let's go to Desktop. Well, actually, I already have that folder selected here, but just so you know, you just go to the Path 1, select the folder, and then we can save it in the same location. We can select a folder. You can go to New Folder if you don't want them to be all jumbled together. So just select DNGs or DNG. And then there's a lot of options within Adobe DNG Converter. You can select different sizes that you want to compress your files to. We found that 2048 is a great balance between retaining image quality and reducing file size for your customers to handle easily. That's actually a little bit bigger than probably the standard that we see online. If you go online and you download file or the images you see on Zillow or different platforms, you'll see how big or how much resolution they are, and that's actually a little bit bigger. So I think that's a good size, at least for us, but you can make the determination what size works best for you. Unless our customers, we have a product called HD Photos, in which we don't compress or we deliver two sizes of files, right? We deliver one at this size, and then we also deliver one at the original size as well. And when we're doing original size, when they do order HD photos, we select preserve pixel count when we do the compression. But here we go. So we're just gonna do 2048, and you'll be able to see the difference. I'm gonna go ahead and hit convert, and it does this process pretty quickly. You can see that number going down relatively fast. But if we go over here, I'm gonna compare the sizes, right? So we have these ARW files coming from the Sonys, which these ones are actually really small. So these are just compressed raw images from the Sony a7S III, but depending on the type or the camera that you have and the sensor size, these files are gonna be significantly bigger. The Sony a7S III has a 12 megapixel sensor, so that's why they're pretty small. But if you're shooting with anything larger like a a7S III, that's a 20 megapixel camera, it's probably about double that size. But if you look at the DNG files, they're significantly smaller, probably about a 1 megabit average. You know, actually some of them are really small, 335 kilobits. But anyway, so the conversion's done. So once the Adobe DNG process is done, then we're gonna import these DNGs into Lightroom. So let's go ahead and open Lightroom here. I'm gonna go ahead and quit out of DNG Converter, select import, and now we're gonna find that source where we're at. So we'll go to other source, we'll go to desktop, then we're in one, and then it's in this DNGs folder. So when we import these DNGs, before we blend and do all this stuff, I usually don't like to mess with the images too much, so let's go ahead and select import these. Just because when you start messing with images prior to your HDR blend, it can kind of mess things up a little bit. We can retain the metadata so that whenever we do have the blended HDR images, we are able to still get that profile information from the lens. But all right, so what we're gonna do now is select Command A or select all, go to photo, and then go to stacking, and then go to auto stack by capture time. And I like to keep mine at 3 seconds, so that's the time between so any exposure, since we shoot stacked images, it fires them off really quickly, usually all within 3 seconds. But if you have like a slower shutter speed, then you might want to increase that time a little bit. But anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and leave that at 115. You'll be able to see if it's stacked correctly, if all these, you know, if it says 3 on all of these images. If for some reason it says 2 or 4, you can either adjust your timing or you can manually stack them. All right, so from here, If you select one image and you go to photo merge HDR, the options will show up. Now I've done some testing between automatic align and auto settings and what impact it has on the image and how fast it takes to process. It processes essentially the same speed from my experience. So I'm gonna leave it at auto align. That will align all of the exposures if for some reason you had some tripod shake, which can happen from time to time. And then there's usually not issues with ghosting, so I just leave that on none. And then you can actually just use the automatic settings. It's gonna automatically adjust exposure, shadows, highlights to what it feels like it does best. But I'm gonna go ahead and just leave it with those settings. So you can click merge and it's gonna merge that one image. But that's how you adjust your settings right here if you wanna change these. I'm gonna go ahead and select Command A, and now I'm gonna go to photo merge HDR. And then what it automatically does is that automatically starts processing all the HDR images. So you can see it already did one. Now we previously used LR Infuse and it would definitely blend the files much faster, but you don't retain your raw attributes, right? Like your white balance settings. So if I click on one of these HDR images, if you go to the develop tab, you could see that you still have all these options from a white balance. It's not just a plus or minus scale from bluer or yellower, colder or warmer, but you still have all this information in here. And you can see with the automatic settings, it did adjust to what it feels is appropriate. If you go to 1:1, you'll see this is the actual image size. From a pixels perspective, I guess I'll leave it at fit just so you guys can see a little bit better, but obviously I'm editing on a 6K display, so you know, when it's 2000 pixels wide, it's gonna be pretty small. But online, the picture looks awesome. So usually when it's doing the HDR blend, I'm usually doing another task or something. I usually don't like to edit my photos while it's doing this process. I like to just let it sit for a while, finish. You can actually just see how fast these are processing. If we go into our Finder, let's go to desktop, and let's go to 1. I believe it puts, actually sorry, we're doing DNG. So if you go into this folder, you'll see the HDR images. So if we do it by date modified, you'll see how many images it's processing per minute. So the first full minute was 1037, and from my experience, it's about 10 per minute. In this case, it did 12. So depending on how many photos you took, how many stacks you have, that's probably about what you can expect. Now, I'm editing on a Mac Pro. Your process might be a little bit slower if you're using a different computer. And I'll also show you the old method that we used to use when editing, which is LR Infuse. Like I said, you're not gonna retain those raw attributes of the image. I would say the image quality is slightly less, but it might work better for your workflow depending on how you work, but this is how we do it. So anyways, what you see is, you know, these HDR images are much bigger than what the DNG converted files are, and those are the ones that we send around or we upload to our editors. And anyways, so I'm gonna go ahead and let it run its course, and then we're gonna restart this video once it's finished blending. All right, so now the HDR merge process is finished, so I'm just gonna do a quick recap of our process. So when did I start this? If we go to the beginning of the HDR images. So we started at 1036, and it took a total of 9 minutes, and I merged together 115 shots. So that was 345 total images. So anyways, that's about how long the HDR merge process takes. Now I'm gonna come back over here. We're gonna go into the library so you can see how it puts the HDR blended image right next to these. which makes it hard to kind of work with it if you're gonna have to skip over the stacked images. So what I do is go down here to sort by added order, and now the HDR images are gonna be sorted onto the bottom. So here, let's see where we started. All right, so you can see, you know, the number right there is the stacked image, or you can just click on it before you click on the first HDR merge image, and then when you resort it, it's gonna keep that one highlighted. So anyways, I just scroll all the way to the bottom, hit B. So this was essentially 4 units that we shot, so significantly more images than normal. So the images are starting to come alive. We have them all blended with automatic settings from Lightroom. So the product right now doesn't look that great. So what we're gonna do is just start with number 1. We'll go to develop. Actually, from the library view here, so we're on quick collection. Now we can select, what we wanna do is select all the images. And then if you come over here to quick develop, you can scroll down here to your user presets. Now we haven't applied any lens correction or anything, so you can import with lens correction if you want. It's not gonna mess up your blends. So it's already on auto, so I'm just gonna have, for this particular property, I'm just gonna have it apply the lens profile and the straightening of the shot, so I don't have to worry about that. So I'm gonna click on that. And now what you'll see happening, I don't know if you can see it in the previews or not, it'll start to straighten the shots. Now, yep, so you can see, I wonder if we can see a before and after here, just so I can show. Let's see, before and after, left, right. You can see how crooked my shot was, and now you can see how it straightened it out. And that straightening tool is just down here, right here under transform. A lot of times we'll just, you know, with that profile or with that preset, it's just set to auto, which it does a pretty good job, but you'll also notice that some of them aren't that great. You can see how it's just coming through here and straightening and doing its thing. All right, so now we'll start to edit. So we have 115. A lot of times before I even start editing, I'll go through, let me make these thumbnails bigger, and I'll just start eliminating the images that we don't want to edit or that I don't feel adds much value. That way when you go through the editing process, you're not editing unused photos, if that makes sense. All right, so we got, what I'm looking for here is just shots that add value or variety to the home, and just seeing if, you know, this shot and this shot are essentially the same. I prefer the straight on shot, so I'm gonna select this one and hit B, and that's just gonna remove it. So we got a straight on shot. Got a little bit of variety in the kitchen. You can see that this one and this one are about the same. I raised my tripod a little bit so I see less underneath the cabinets on that one, so I'm gonna remove this one. All right. So we got 2 shots here in the laundry room. It's probably unnecessary, so I'm just gonna deliver that one. Even if you don't deliver all of your images, maybe your client wants a shot with both of the washer and dryer, like front and center, you'll have that photo to deliver. But you're just gonna be making, you know, judgment calls as a photographer, what you think adds the most value. And I like this straight on shot here. So a lot of times we do these corner shots, but so we have a corner shot going in and then a corner shot going in. These two do the same thing, so I'm gonna get rid of that one. So I click on it and hit B, and it removes it from the quick collection. All right, so these ones all look a little bit different. We got outside shots here. Now we're moving on to the second unit. All right, so we got center shot side. All right, so this is the same thing. I'm gonna select the first one, a little less or underneath the cabinets here. Tripod could have been a little bit higher, I think, but I think I was trying to balance like what it looks like on the countertop and not. All right, so this one, I'm just gonna keep this one with the water heater as well. I think it adds more value than just the appliances. I mean, you could also keep both of these images as well if you just want to deliver them. It's not going to take much additional time editing, but a lot of times there are limits to the MLS. Like in 2 of the 3 main markets that we service, their limit is 50. Now, in this case with the Four-Plex, they might market them individually or as a single property, so I'm not too concerned about delivering more than that threshold. And a lot of times we definitely do deliver way more than that threshold for the MLS and just let our customers decide. Now these images, I guess we have both corners. I wish I would have got a straight on shot going that way. I think that would have looked a little better. These one, you know, essentially you're looking at the same thing. I probably like that angle a little better, so I'm just gonna go with that one. We got a straight on shot there, showing the pantry, countertops. These 2 are pretty close to the same thing. Now which one? Yeah, I don't, it's a little bit, they're different compositionally, but I'm gonna get rid of this one because we have this one that shows that side of it. I'll get rid of this one. All right. I'll probably just be consistent with that from the inside of these rooms, just that straight angle. I think on one of them I got the corner and the straight shot, but maybe I removed it as well. All right, so I'm gonna remove this one. All right, we got the backyard. All right, so I'm just gonna keep this shot. Got the straight on that. These 2 are very similar. I'll keep the one with the water heater. All right, and here's an example of when the transform didn't do a very good job. You could see that it took the baseboard line and straightened that out. So what you can do is either, if it's off a little bit, you can just select level and it'll level it out. In this case, I'm just gonna have to turn it off because it's way out of whack. You can also manually adjust it, but not necessary on that one. All right, so in this one we did corner and straight. All right, so that's it for just going through just a quick run through of all the images, selecting the ones that you want. Also, you can rearrange these photos if you want. And now from the library view, you can actually apply presets as well. I'm gonna shrink the thumbnails down. Oh, if this thing stops popping up. All right, shrink the thumbnail view a little bit. Now we have different presets. One for, you can see a post HDR interior, and then we have an exterior. They're not the best for every scenario, but they'll get you closer to the final result that you want. So I'm gonna go ahead and, hold on. All right, so let's go ahead and do that here. We'll do exterior on these and just see what it does. It just, you know, adds a little color to the sky. And so I'll go through, so we have all these are exteriors. The next set is going to be interiors. We can just go start to finish and just apply presets. Let me just do this like this. So we'll do post HDR interior shots and just kind of take a look. It actually removed it kind of overrode the straightening. But what I'm gonna do right now is we want that straightening mode, or did it not? So it's still straight. I thought you could see some of them moving. That's why I was thinking that, you see how this one's not straight? Let me take a look at this one. Yeah, so we still have an up. Yeah, I guess. So that's a before and after. Let me just take a look here real quick. Maybe this preset isn't fine-tuned correctly right now. So if I go here and I go to my profile straight, does it straighten that photo back out? Or was it always crooked? Might have always been crooked. It might be worse. Let me take a look. All right, because I'm just looking at the closet line right there. Yeah, it does look like a lot of these. So let me go back here to these interior shots and go to, oh, it has multiple settings. Profile straight. So let's take a look at the ones that were not straight here. All right, now I'm gonna hit Command Z and just kind of go back before I apply that preset, because this is also good to know if you're messing around with your own presets and they kind of may mess up like this. So it's gonna go back. If you hit Command Z, it goes back to all of your settings. So I'm gonna go all the way back until I applied that preset, which it should tell me, I think. Let me see. Undo selection. All right, undo post HDR. Now I'm looking at these. Yeah, these, you see how these are all straight? So now it's straight. Look, you can see these lines much straighter, and the other one looked like this. So I'm not gonna use that preset. That preset must not be correctly fine-tuned right now. But the exteriors looked fine, so what we're gonna do is just do the exterior shots. And, all right, so I'm gonna go here, exterior. The exterior preset looks like it's looking pretty good on this particular property. And we'll go to exterior. And I'm not, this one's outside as well. I guess you could select it, but the exterior ones are more for like the ones with the skies and all that stuff. So let's see here. And usually if you're just doing a single property, it's much faster because usually it's just exterior at the beginning and exterior at the end, and in the middle is all the interior. So let's go ahead and apply exterior. All right. So now from here, we didn't do any interior. So a lot of times the presets don't look that great on the interiors anyway, so us running into that issue really isn't that big of a deal. I'll kind of show you how I go through even without a preset. So right now we just have auto settings, and I'll start here at the exterior. I'm gonna go to develop. Let me remove this before and after look. Sorry, let me click here. All right, let me just go to fit. Here, let me show these. Now, so, you know, we could fine tune if we want, if we think the shadows should be brighter, which I think the shadows up at 100% looks pretty good. You can copy and then kind of apply it as you go. All it is doing is adjusting that shadow brightness, but I'm just going through real quick. Let me see, let me increase exposure here. pretty dark in the shadows. If you wanted to adjust, you know, you can make it brighter in there, but it looks all right to me. So maybe I'll just make it a little brighter like that. And now we got the settings from outside and pasting them on the inside. It actually doesn't look too bad. Usually your interior shots, you want them a little bit brighter. And so like right here, maybe you think, all right, that's too much yellow in the distance. You can select this little saturation tool right here and then click and then drag down or up if you want to increase or decrease saturation, and then hit copy. Whoops, let's see. So I'm just gonna go through, since the lighting conditions are pretty similar throughout this house, a lot of times I'll just go through room to room where the lighting is different. I'll basically create not necessarily a preset, but I'll have all the settings dialed in. I'll copy and paste it to the rest of the photos in that room. You can just see it's just brightening it up a little bit, making it a little more warm and inviting. Some of these rooms are a little bit darker than others, so you can obviously manually increase the exposure if it's not bright enough, or if you want it a little brighter. Now in here, a lot of times during the day you'll see like that blue light coming through on your stuff, so you can do the same thing for the blues. We can reduce the blues there so it doesn't look so bad. And we can reduce the highlights to try to get a little bit more detail in here. And all right, let's keep going here. And now this is a bathroom. Let's see if we copy these settings to this shower. That's probably a little bit too bright. You can also set white balance with this little tool right here and just click on something white in the room. That actually probably looks a little bit more accurate. So I'll either do like the toilet, but I think the toilet was kind of compromised with that lighting. You can click on the sink. Well, let's go through here. I mean, the white balance, in my opinion, looks a little bit too yellow. But a lot of times, so what I do after I get done editing these, hold on, so I'm gonna go through these real quick. All right, so we have it. I'll go back to library view and just kind of see if I have a consistent look and feel about it, about the house. Like, you don't want a bunch of inconsistent, like this room looking more blue than this one. You just want it to look pretty consistent. They don't have to be perfect. And that's something like, can these pictures look better? Sure. You can spend a lot more time editing these, but at the price point that we pay, or that we charge for these photos, and keeping efficiency in mind, you know, I feel like, you know, they look pretty good for what we got. So I'm gonna go through, these are some more exteriors. I'm gonna increase the exposure just a little bit. I'm gonna copy and then paste them on the next ones coming up. All right, now we're back on the interior. Yeah, these auto settings look pretty odd. So I'm gonna bring down highlights, bring up shadows. I'm gonna try to reduce that yellow a little bit back here. It looks all right. This is one example where I think, you know, where you can see in the distance, when you get things pretty far in the distance at a f4, sometimes they look kind of soft. But it's not too terribly common. Now this one's really dark because it exposed for the windows. Now I prefer to have more of a blown out looking window than a brighter interior. Some photographers really focus on having that exterior look crystal clear on the windows, and I'm just not, it just doesn't look natural in many cases. So all right, I'm gonna reduce those blues. Now you can tell that that laundry room had some fluorescent light bulbs in it because it had a different white balance color. All right, let's keep it going. Whoa. Yeah, just that one shot was really dark. All right, let's copy this. Move on. And this house probably could have benefited from having a flash exposure using flash HDR in some of these rooms. But we shot this one just normal HDR. Normal HDR is a great place to start because in my opinion it's more important to nail composition and not have to worry about so many variables, especially when you're just getting started. All right, let's all right, now we're back outside. These ones look pretty good. This one's kind of dark. So you can bring it up like this. I'll show you another thing. So if you want it really bright right here, you can come down here to luminance and then do the same tool and try to bring down. So you see how I made it bright and then I just brought down the luminance of the sky. So that actually looks pretty good. So just something else to know. I don't think I'll try to copy it and paste it on the next image, see what it looks like. It looks like too bright to me, so I'm gonna bring that down. Oh my gosh, that's terrible. All right, so so it actually looks all right here. Let me try that luminance trick here on the sky and see if we can get anything down. Yeah, that actually makes it look much better. And sometimes with these flares, it looks very like hazy. They have this dehaze tool right here where it can kind of make it look sharper and make those flares look less, make your image look less soft. I wouldn't go too over the top with that one, but that looks all right to me. All right, let's move on. All right, now we're back on the interiors. Yeah, I'm just not a big fan of it. So we have daytime light coming in through the front, and then we have these tungsten lights in the back. That kitchen almost looks blown out. So we can drop it. Like you could set your white balance for back here, but then up here you got all blue. That's just something you deal with when you have conflicting lighting. Now you can use a brush to do a temperature brush on this part and make it better, but we just kind of want to get it better. And a lot of times is just by reducing. Whoops, that's luminance. Sorry. Let's go back to saturation. Just reducing how dramatic some of these yellows look. And then like if you want this room a little bit brighter, I'll go ahead and go into this. So exposure, so we're at 0.23. This one's not gonna be too dramatic of an increase, but you can just use the exposure print, just this little brush tool, and then you could paint and then increase exposure to make it look better. I think that looks better than what we started with, and we didn't spend too much time. Now I copy the past one and it's definitely not gonna paste for sure. It's not gonna look right. You can, if you hit Command Copy, a lot of times, so like local adjustments, you'll want to remove that. It's gonna be all that brush tools. Yeah, but it's still gonna not paste right. So it's better, sometimes if the lighting is just so drastically different, we just edit by itself. All right, that looks all right. All right, so we got the highlights down, the shadows up, just trying to find a good middle ground. Now, we can use these light plates to kind of help set white balance a little bit better in these rooms. And that looks all right. Just keep going here. Try to make that a little brighter. That looks a little bright. Bring that down. Now we got a lot of this blue. It's just trying to avoid some of these distracting. So just reducing that blue, I think, will make it less distracting. All right, let's see what we got there. That looks all right. Whoa, that's really bad. All right. So now that the lighting's changed a bit. All right, that's all right. Let's reduce the highlights. Get a little bit more detail out of that window. Though I'm not really that too concerned about having it super crisp out there. So I'm just kind of copying and pasting as I go and make adjustments. Presets will only get you so far. Now we have, we've created a whole bunch of different ones. And when you get so many presets, it's kind of hard to remember, all right, which one do I use in this scenario? It's almost easier just to kind of go through and fine tune these houses as we go. You can see it's pretty bright out there already. And it's kind of dark in here, so you can just use this exposure brush, same as we used before. Just kind of brighten it up a little bit in this room. All right, we're outside. The outside shots look good to me. Now this looks a little blown out. I think this part looks fine, so let's go to that luminance tool. Find the blue part and just bring it down. That looks all right. We can bring up shadows. You can also use this tool if you want to make the front of the house look a little bit brighter. That's not bad either. All right, so let's do the same luminance thing here. I'll pick the blue part and just see what it can pull out of the sky. Increase shadows. All right, so this is the last. Let me see if I paste. What is that? All right. Looking like deja vu. All these units look the same. All right, let's keep going. And you can see how eliminating those images that we weren't planning on using at the beginning will help just going through this. We might still eliminate some, but if you can go through and eliminate, oh, this is that one that's sideways. Turn that off. Oh, hold on. Usually by default we want that. Yeah, the transform mode, upright mode. All right, this one's gonna be dark. Now it's so bright right here and then dark over here, so I don't want to blow out all of this whole fixture right here. So we'll use the exposure brush and just kind of bring it up a little bit right there. Bring up the exposure a bit. Maybe reduce some of this yellow. Whoops, that's luminance. Go back to saturation. All right, now we'll copy, go to the next, paste. See, we're getting not bad. Exterior shots. That's it. So now I'll go back to library just to kind of review the images, make sure there's nothing, no sore thumbs that stick out. Just going through, making sure we're getting a consistent look throughout. All right, and they're pretty much in order. All right, so these look pretty good. So now it's just a matter of exporting these. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit Command A, go to File, Export. Now here's some of the settings that we have. Let's choose desktop, and I'll put them back into this folder. Now typically if we're editing these for delivery to customers, we're exporting it to our finished folder in Dropbox, so then our admin and support team can then deliver them to the customer. But right now I'm just gonna select that, and we're gonna do new folder, and we'll call it finished. Usually the folder name, so I'm gonna choose that folder. We're not gonna put it in a subfolder because we already have the finished folder selected. We usually just use the street name, or sorry, the street address as the subfolder, and then the custom name for the particular property, the street name. So if it was 50th Avenue or 123 50th Avenue, we would just use 50th Avenue as the name, and then so we do a custom name sequence. I'll just call this Four-Plex, and then we'll start at 1. And then quality, it's usually, you know, we can do 78% or 80%. It's not gonna make that big of an impact. We're not gonna resize these ones because we've already resized. Now, if you want the metadata of all your lens information, all that, you can have all that information on here. We typically don't include it. And then just go to export, and then it's gonna export the 99 images. It should be pretty quick. So I'm gonna go to our finished folder right here. So now we have all of them exported. Yeah, it should, yep, it's finished. So we have 99 pictures exported for a total of 65 megabytes. And you can see that these are all relatively small. Looks like the exterior photos are taking up a little bit more space than the interiors, which is fine. But it's definitely an appropriate image size for our customers to be able to handle. Last thing you want is to deliver photos and your customer have to take 30 minutes to download and then 30 minutes to upload to the system that they're using. So that is pretty much it for the edits on this particular Four-Plex. Reach out if you guys have any questions, and we'll see you guys on the next one.